Joining me now is a guy who's one of the most motivated and accomplished people I know. At just 23 years old, he's worked with pro athletes, written books, and spends a lot of his time mentoring kids through a sports lens. I've had him on the show before, but today he's in studio. Billy Pinckney, aka Billy the Bat Boy, welcome to the show.
Mike, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So a big part of what you do is speaking with kids at school and motivating them through your personal experiences. Talk about some of those recent visits.
Absolutely, yeah. Spent a couple visits over in Pennsylvania, went to some schools there, and then here in New Jersey, obviously, is where I'd like to really focus my attention on. We have so much potential here in this state. A lot of kids need to be inspired. And I've been so fortunate to work in baseball for over a decade, since I was 11 years old, working with professional athletes. And when you think about the kinds of lessons you can learn through sports, how to deal with adversity, how to deal with the challenges that you face in this game, being a kind person, those are all lessons that I learned, that those players taught me. And I feel like it's necessary to now teach the next generation, teach these kids at schools, be a great classmate. Whether you're an athlete on the field, whether you're a teammate, no matter what it is, you want to be a good person, and these are values that are really, really integral for your success as you move forward.
Values in sports are also important values in life as well.
Absolutely.
So now one great way to connect with kids is with picture books. You've written books for kids before. You've got some you currently wrote. What are some of your latest works, and what's the message behind those stories?
Sure. I actually have the most recent one here. Billy the Bat Boy includes others, and it's a story about a kid who has a learning disability, and he's coming to the ballpark. He's kind of unsure of what to do. He's a little anxious because of the environment he's in. But Billy the Bat Boy and the coach of the team, Skip, his name is, invite him into the dugout. Spend some time in the dugout with the players. Get used to this environment. And it's really just about including other people who might have differences or might be kids who are struggling with something. And that's something that I want to touch on, because there are kids out there who might love the sport of baseball, they might love the game, but they don't know how to get involved. And there's a spot for you, there's a spot for everybody, no matter who you are. And we just want to make sure that those values are in the hands of those young kids. And whether it's leadership advice, whether it's including other people, just dealing with those challenges, we want to make sure that these kids understand that at such a young age, because that'll help them push forward. When you deal with challenges, a lot of kids quit, they give up, they don't want to deal with it. And it's important for them to realize that, man, there's a way forward. These professional players have done it time and time again. We watched the World Series recently. There's a lot of challenges that players face throughout the year, injuries, and various other things. And if the kids can be inspired by those lessons, it's a win.
It absolutely is. Now, speaking of leadership, you don't just motivate kids, you teach them to lead. And you came up with a leadership manual. Can you talk a little about that?
Sure. This is want to be cool, be a leader. And when you grow up, a lot of kids, they want to fit in. They want to be the cool kid. They want to fit in with other people. They want to do what's popular. And I rejected all that. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do the things other people are doing, because I knew that if I wanted to stand out and if I wanted to be a leader, there would have to be things that I had to do that were a lot different. And in this book, we have 40 different tips and 40 different phrases that can help younger players and younger students. Whether you're a student athlete or not, these are life-changing type messages. And my professor, Dr. Gilbert at Montclair State University, helped me just consult and just go through this and try to find ways to really just take some of the 40 strongest things that we can possibly think of, and they're really quite simple. Things such as showing up early. You think about showing up early, how important it is. And I remember being a young bat boy in the clubhouse with the players. I showed up before they showed up because I wanted to be there in that environment. You know how important it is to be around professionals at a young age. And it's when you think about the kinds of conversations there are, you think about the kinds of messages that they give you. That was a major way for me to have learned a lot of great things as a young kid. And you think about other things such as, just not giving in to the temptations that there are. There are so many different things that this world tries to distract us with. And I'm sure we could dive deeper into those things as well. But it's really just been something that I wanted to do for the younger generation, so they stand out and they don't fit in.
Well, piggybacking off of that, you said on social media recently that you've never done a drug, you've never had a drink, which is so unbelievably commendable. Would you say that what you do is your high?
I would absolutely say that, and that was something that I realized at a young age. I said, if I want to do something in this game of baseball, if I want to do something and be really good at it, you had to reject the thinking of society, what society tries to push. You had to say no to it. And I just decided, hey, alcohol, nothing good would come from it. Drugs, nothing good would come from it. I recognized those things and saw the mistakes that a lot of people made, whether they're players, whether they're people in the news, celebrities, whoever it was. And I said, you know what? If all these people are making mistakes, I'm not going to replicate those mistakes. You got to learn from the mistakes of others. There's expensive experience, which is you making those mistakes and paying the price for it. And then there's inexpensive experience, which is learning from the mistakes of other people. And I didn't want to make those mistakes and just pay the price all the time. You want to be able to learn from other people. And I feel like that's been a major part of my journey. I've been talking more about it. And a lot of kids, they can relate because they want to stay focused. There's so many things that are coming at them nowadays with social media, these distractions. It could come in all different forms, and we want to make sure these kids are locked in. My faith plays a role as well. I want to be sober-minded because I feel like there's a higher calling for my life, and there's great things that I'm put here to do. And I feel like part of that means that I have to be completely locked in. And in doing so, it made a whole lot of sense to not drink.
And if you want to stand out from the crowd, you can't follow the crowd. So you're doing just that. Now, talk about some of the work you do with pro athletes. Any recent events you got coming up?
Yeah, actually, this past weekend, I was in Brooklyn, New York. The Palacios brothers, big leaguers who spent some time in the big leagues, brought some of their buddies who also are major leaguers to Brooklyn to do a camp for these kids. And I had the opportunity to cover that event, head out there. And it was really a great opportunity because you see these players who have been through all the levels. They're at the highest level right now, yet they still go back and want to help the kids out there. They want to help out the next generation in the city. And it was really special to be a part of that. And we'll see what else comes up. There's always some great events popping up. And any time where there's an opportunity to speak to players about their stories, dive deeper into what they're doing to impact the next generation, I'm there for it.
It's so great to hear when players give back. You're giving back now. Billy Pinckney, Billy the Bat Boy, thanks so much for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Keep climbing, man.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back. All right, let's check out how Kean women's volleyball performed during their NJAC championship tournament this past week. The path for Kean, led by NJAC Player of the Year Aspen O'Brien, began in the semifinals on Thursday night against William Patterson. The Cougars would take this match in straight sets, led by O'Brien and freshman Ashley Torok. Torok was able to put down 13 kills in the victory. Kaylee Elena Morrison and Allison Kowaleski each had 9 kills in this match. That win set up the marquee final between Kean and Stockton University on Saturday afternoon for the conference championship. The energy in Harwood Arena was electric. The Cougars started fast and dominated the first 2 sets, thanks in large part to Torok, who had 14 kills and 15 in total. The final set was back and forth with Stockton putting up a strong fight, but Morrison was too much, tallying her 15th kill on the game-winning point for Kean. The win gave Kean 15-set sweeps on the season and their first NJAC championship title since 2018. The Cougars are 29-5 and received an automatic bid to the NCAA Division III tournament. Well, I am so happy and so humbled anytime I'm able to have a former Major League ball player on the show, and I guess you can say my next guest put a dent in Yankees history with one of the most historic and important home runs the franchise has ever seen, and he's easily one of the coolest guests this show has ever seen. Today, I'm happy to welcome 3-time All-Star and 1978 World Series MVP Bucky Dent. Bucky, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, man.
Oh, the pleasure's ours. So now let's go back to your Yankees days. You joined the Yankees in 1977. Talk about coming from a not-so-great White Sox team and then becoming a key piece of a New York dynasty.
Well, I tell you what, it was my dream come true. Growing up, I was such a diehard Yankee fan, a Mickey Mantle fan, and the rumors started to fly in spring training of that year that it was possible that I could get traded to the New York Yankees, and I was so excited, and one of my best friends had called me. He was doing a story with George Steinbrenner for 60 Minutes, and he said, stay home tonight. I think you're going to get traded to the Yankees. I went, oh, my God, that's my dream come true, and wound up going to the last day of spring training, but I got traded over, and I was so excited. I watched the Yankees play when I was growing up. Mantle was my hero, and then to be able to have that dream come true and walk in that clubhouse the next day and being a New York Yankee was so excited.
Fantastic. Now, the Yankees have had some great first-name nicknames in their history. You got Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford. How did you get the name Bucky?
I grew up in the South, And my grandmother, they all give you kind of nicknames. And I used to kind of like scoot around on my rear end. And they used to kind of call me Scooter Buck. And I didn't like that as I got older. And it just kind of shortened down to where everybody started calling me Bucky.
Now, the defining moment of your career, the one-game playoff against the Red Sox in 1978, you hit a 3-run home run in the seventh to make it 3-2 Yankees. What were your thoughts as you approached the plate, and then what was the feeling after you realized the ball went over the green monster?
Well, I'd been up a couple times before, and Mike Torres was our teammate, and I kind of knew how he was trying to get me out. But when I fouled the ball off my foot and I went back and got all the spray on, I was just looking to drive a ball because there was two guys on, and I was just looking for a pitch to hit hard. And after I got all the spray, I got back in the box, and first pitch Torres threw me kind of a fastball down and in, and I was a pretty good low ball hitter. And I hit it pretty good, but I didn't know if it was going to go out, and so I was running hard to get to second base. And then as I rounded first, I saw the umpire signal was a homer. I saw Yastrzemski was buckled down at the wall, and I knew it was a homer. And I tell you what, it was a great feeling. I mean, rounding third base and in Fenway and how quiet it was like everybody was shocked, But then as I got to third, you could hear the Yankee fans, and it was just a great feeling. A highlight of my career and a big moment, and things you dream of as a kid, they all came true right there.
That's so cool to hear. Now, do you feel like that home run gave you guys a boost of confidence or a momentum that kind of carried you through the rest of that postseason?
Oh, absolutely. That the teams that I played on, the 77 Yankees, 78 Yankees, I had some great teammates, and they hated to lose. So, in 78, we come from so far behind, 14 games back. And it was just a great year. And to play in a one-game playoff like that, I don't think you're ever going to see one like that. It was a day, it was a Jewish holiday. It was New York. It was Boston. It seemed like the whole world stopped to watch that game. And it was probably the most pressure game I ever played in my life. So after that, it kind of vaulted us into the playoffs against Kansas City, where we weren't picked to win, and then on to the Dodgers, where we dropped two, and we weren't picked to win that one, but we came back, and it was just a great series.
Now, Bucky, I remember talking to Endy Chavez years ago. He's the Mets outfielder known for that great catch at the wall in the 2006 NLCS. Now, during the conversation, he said everyone comes up to him about the catch, but they forget that he batted .306 that year, which was his best year at the plate. Are there any other moments in your career that you feel get overlooked because of your historic home run?
I think winning the most valuable player in 78 gets overlooked because of the home run. Everybody remembers that. There's not too many days go by that somebody doesn't come up to me, a Red Sox fan or a Yankee fan, goes, "I remember that game. You made my life, or you broke my life." The Red Sox fans, but that, and I made the All-Star team 3 times, but sometimes that gets overlooked because of the big home run, because everybody, like I said, was watching that game.
Absolutely. Now, you joined social media recently, and we've been able to kind of get a glimpse into your life now. But tell us, what have you been up to, and how are you still involved with the game of baseball?
Well, my stepson got me involved in social media, and it's a different life being on social media, but it's interesting. But I still stay involved, with the game. I do a lot of speaking engagements, and this past year I got invited back to spring training for the first time in 20 years, which was a great thrill. To be able to go back, put that Yankee uniform on, be on the field with the new generation of players, to see how they work. And just the facilities down in spring training were awesome, man. I mean, it's totally different than when we played, but it's a great feeling. And, I love still being a part of the game.
I had Roy White on the show relatively recently, and we talked about Old Timers Day back in August, which had to be a great little reunion for you guys. How often do you get to see your teammates from those late 70s and early 80s teams, and have you stayed in touch with a lot of them?
Oh yeah, I get to see, and I love Old Timers Day. I mean, I just love going back because, you those guys you played with, you get to see them. And look, I think last year was 47 years, of all of us. We've lost a few players over the years, but it's always great to see, Mickey Rivers, Ron Guidry, Chris Chambliss, Willie Randolph. It's always, and Lou Piniella, they hear the stories, they get bigger and better every year, and it's just a lot of fun.
Now, the game has changed a lot, obviously, since you've played. Are there any particular thoughts you have on the game in 2025, and are there any changes that you particularly like or dislike?
No, I think the game is the same between the lines, but I think there's a lot of different things that have changed. There's more analytics in the game. We had our little analytics, as far as telling us where to play and stuff like that. But the game on the field is played the same. It might be, different in the way they go about it now. Like the game they want to hit more home runs, where we played different kind of baseball. We played the game to, drive runs in, to move guys over. It was more little ball, where today it's more, launch angle. We want to hit home runs. But the World Series this year was a great World Series. I really enjoyed watching that series. I mean, those two teams, they were flawless. There was a lot of energy, and it seemed like they played the game the way I kind of grew up playing the game. They bunted, they put the ball in play. There was big plays during the World Series. It was an exciting series. I really enjoyed watching it.
It really was one of the most exciting in recent memory. Bucky, I'll ask you one final question. You'll always be known for that 1978 home run, and as a great Yankee, how do you want to be remembered as a person?
Well, I think my faith is one thing I want to be remembered for. I have a tremendous faith, and the home run and playing sports I've always felt give me a platform to do good things in the world. I started a baseball school. Growing up, I never got a chance to really go and learn from pros and learned a little integral parts of the game. So I started a baseball school, and I ran that for about 30 something years. And that was important to me. I do a lot of charity work. Like with my school, there's not too many days go by where somebody will walk up to me and say, "Hey, I went to your baseball school." And that still makes me feel good. And I always ask them, "Did I yell at you?" And they start laughing. But, being a part of that, I have a park named after me, which is a tremendous feeling. It's in my town that I grew up in Hialeah. It's something that's very, very special to me. It gives back to the kids, to the community, and I'm just very, very proud of that. But there's a lot of things I still like to do, and I want to be remembered for. Is a lot of charity work, a lot of off the field stuff that, like I said, I think being an athlete, it gives us a platform to be able to do a lot of good things.
Love to hear all of that. Bucky Dent, Yankees legend, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time today.
Well, thank you for having me on, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back. New Jersey Devils brothers Jack and Luke Hughes are teaming up with JAG Physical Therapy and Hockey in New Jersey to promote literacy for kids in the Garden State through a new initiative called Pucks and Pages. Joining me now to talk about this program is the president and CEO of JAG Physical Therapy, John Gallucci Jr. John, thanks so much for coming on today.
Mike, thank you and the team for having me. Very excited about this program.
All our pleasure to have you on. So, John, before we get into the great new initiative, can you talk a little about JAG Physical Therapy and the relationship the organization has with the Devils?
Absolutely. JAG Physical Therapy, pretty easy. John Anthony Gallucci, so the company's named after me. Everybody gets to wear my initials every day, but we are an outpatient comprehensive physical therapy, occupational therapy company that offers services in all 21 counties of New Jersey, the 5 boroughs of New York City, Westchester, Rockland, Long Island, and Northern Pennsylvania. So very excited.
Now, as CEO and president, what's your role and what are some of the things you oversee at JAG Physical Therapy?
So I oversee all operations and execution of any type of planning that we do. But I am also a licensed physical therapist and athletic trainer working in sports my entire career, from collegiate sports to professional sports. I've had great opportunities in my career as a clinician and as the CEO and founder of JAG.
It's fantastic. Now, how did the idea of Pucks and Pages come to be, and why was it so important for you guys to jump on board with it?
Well, Jack and Luke are amazing people, not only athletes, but they're amazing people. And they want to make a difference in the community that they are playing in. And they both have this passion of reading. Actually, all the Hughes brothers have a passion of reading. They challenge each other throughout the season, and they decided to bring it to the kids. And ultimately, I thought it was a great idea. It's great to get children reading. It's also great to get children to understand literacy and the benefits of reading each and every day.
Devils players have always been great to the community. Now, how do the kids learn about the impact of team sport through this program?
So Jack and Luke get to pick different books. Most of them are around sports. The current book that they picked is a great book called Fast Pitch by Nick Stone, and it's a great book about a softball player coming of age in the sport, but also coming of age as a teenager. And it's great to see how Nick Stone was able to make that happen through words. And Jack and Luke are planning on having more and more books to really touch the youth of New Jersey and make sure they keep an interest and continue to read.
And final question, living in a digital age that we live in now, how important is it for kids to make sure they read a book every once in a while?
Well, the nice thing about the digital age is you can read online, but there's nothing better than kicking back, reading and relaxing and absorbing the appropriate grammar, understanding how people are writing, and really understand that sometimes on the internet, everything isn't truthful, nor is it grammatically correct. So I think we want the children to learn from the experience, but more importantly, think about the gaining of literacy to get more and more children reading on a continual basis.
John Gallucci, President and CEO of JAG Physical Therapy, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. Appreciate you and the team.
Well, that'll do it for this week's show. I'll see you next Monday. For all New Jersey sports and news, head over to ONNJ.com.